Hey, this is Scott Cole from YourGolfSwingFix.com, and wanted to take a look at video of Tiger from the Australian Open and make it a comparison to what he was doing in 2008. So now I'm kind of doing this backwards. I've already recorded this video on V1, but I've had some issues with combining the screencasting software with the V1, so might get a little out of sequence here. But anyhow, what I've done is I've drawn lines up the club shaft in both videos and half a box around the head in both cases. Now the main issue, there's what I'm going to point out is that I feel that a couple of the changes that Sean Foley has made with Tiger is going to hurt the driver until they address this compression issue. Tiger gets criticized for his compression, so what I'm looking at here first is the takeaway. His takeaway position isn't all that different from what it used to be. He's swinging the hands more to the inside now compared to what he used to, but he's still keeping the butt of the club pointed towards his belly, which is what he's always done. That's a Butch Harmon thought. Hank would rather have Tiger have his hands a little closer to his body, similar to the video on the left, but have the club shaft parallel to his target line at this point. But that's not I don't really worry too much about the takeaway all that much. So halfway back you're going to see some differences. Tiger is more steep in his swing on the left than what he used to be. As you'll be able to see, his club shaft in the video on the right is closer to being parallel to his original shaft plane. The main differences I'm going to point out in the video are at the top of his swing. Notice in both cases that he has compressed in his backswing, so the top of his head in both videos is below that top yellow line. So this is something he's always done. Now notice his positions here. He's more bent over in the video on the left. He's turning more steeply, and he's not giving his arms as much freedom to swing. So notice in the video on the right, his left arm is a bit higher in the golf swing, and notice the difference in the elbow positions. His elbow in the video on the right is in a more common position. In the one on the left, he's trying to imitate Hogan a little bit. He's more compressed. He's tighter. And Greg Norman has actually been critical of that position because of, he feels like he's losing the freedom in his swing. So I just drew those lines to demonstrate how more bent over he is, and he's closer to the ball. And I believe that is going to be the main issue with why he's still going to continue to struggle with his driver. So what I've pointed out then is he's got space between his left arm and his right shoulder. And then I'm going to point out the difference between the elbow positions. So it looks like he's swinging more freely. Now on the left, I don't know if he was trying to hit a stinger shot with that fairway metal or not, but the swing is shorter as well. So he's got the club pretty close to parallel. Well, he's parallel to the ground, the video on the right, and that club is pretty close to parallel to his target line. That's pretty much what he was trying to achieve with Hank. So now we're going to get into the downswing here in a minute, but so those positions are quite a bit different. He's more compressed in that swing on the left, and he's definitely a little bit taller in the position on the right. So And I should point out, Brandel Chambly was making some comments about these positions as well. But notice, he is, in both cases, he has started to compress in his backswing. And in the downswing, he compresses even more. So what I end up doing in this video is I'll draw a line at the top of his head, halfway down there. And I think, yep, I'm going to draw another line in both cases at the top of his head to where he was at the top of his backswing. So what Tiger does in his swing is he changes his levels throughout the swing. Most good golfers will change the level only in the downswing into impact. But Tiger's going to change it in the backswing, in the downswing, and then right before impact, he's going to come back up. And that, I believe, is one of the reasons why he struggles with the driver. He gets away with it with the irons because he's just a phenomenal athlete. But just notice in this video on the right how much taller he is. He's further away from the ball. In both cases, though, he's sinking. So there you can see after his head sunk down to that lowest yellow line that I drew at the top of his head, he rose back up at impact to a level between those lower two yellow lines. Now, because he stood over the ball a little bit taller in that video on the right, and because he turned his shoulders a little bit more level, his arms had more room to swing. And if you recall, in 2009, he wasn't really fighting the shot to the left. Right now, he's got a two-way miss with the driver. He can hit it to the left and he can hit it to the right. In 2009, his miss was to the right, and that was it. So I believe that's why he was still able to consistently win. He putted very well in 2009, but his total driving stats in 2009, he ranked 12th. And I think that said a lot, considering that he had had a 9-month layoff due to the knee surgery. So now he's trying to get more compression because I believe he's trying to get more distance. He feels like this will get him more distance that he feels like will help him compete with some of the guys who are hitting it farther than him now. I'm not sure that's going to work or not. Apparently he does hit some strong shots, but I believe he's sacrificing his accuracy in favor of trying to get some more distance. So just demonstrating how he changes those levels, and he always had in his swing. But on the right, because his posture was taller and because he turned the shoulders more level, he's got more room to swing the arms, got more freedom to swing the club. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in Hunter Mahan's swing here. Hunter Mahan's another student of Sean Foley who attempts to do some similar things, and his ball striking is, pretty good. I believe he was ranked near the top in greens and regulation this year. He's not a tremendously long hitter, but he's pretty accurate. So I'm going to bring his video in here and demonstrate, it's interesting to me that from what I had heard, Foley had pointed out that Tiger might want to try and do some things that Mahan does. And yet Mahan swings a lot like, I think he combines some characteristics from what Haney teaches and from maybe what Foley teaches. So he keeps the club more on plane, right up that shaft plane, just like Hank Haney would teach. and he gets a little bit more rotation. But notice in his backswing at the top, his head at the top of his backswing is still at that yellow line, whereas Tiger would be well below. Now also notice the right elbow with Mahan. You know, it's not tucked into his right side like Tiger's trying to get. So Mahan just looks like he has more freedom to swing the club. Now, Brandel Chambly pointed out a lot of these differences early this year and got some criticism for it, but I believe he was spot on. I mean, Mahan's posture, you know, it seems like Tiger has exaggerated a lot of what Foley is trying to get him to do, and I think it's hurting him. Hitting some good iron shots, but all he had to hit last week was those low bullets. I want to see him have the ability to hit those high shots and be able to hit a high draw and a high fade with the irons as well. And he didn't really have to demonstrate that last week. I think at Royal Melbourne is supposed to be a much tougher golf course this week at the President's Cup. Apparently yesterday he didn't play too well with the alternate shot, but you know, it's hard to get in a rhythm in that kind of format. We'll see how he does in the 4-ball today. I believe he's playing with Dustin Johnson. But just notice how Hunter Mahan seems to have far more freedom to swing, because he doesn't change his levels throughout his golf swing. And I believe this is what Sean Foley needs to address with Tiger, you know, in the near term. He's got to get him to quit changing his levels so much in the swing. And I believe he needs to, unless he gets that fixed, he's not going to have a chance to hit the driver consistently if he's going to have his posture so much more bent over and turn the shoulders more steeply. So those are the thoughts on what I see with Tiger Woods' swing right now. Still a work in progress, and we'll see you on down the road in some more videos.